Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. Now, if you're in the Leading at the Next Level community with us, you get to see this video. If you're in the 2026 Leadership Legacy digital game plan product, you get to see the video. Otherwise, you're catching this on Spotify, on YouTube, on the audio side, on Audible, in any one of the platforms, iTunes, Apple Music, whatever that's called at this point, on the audio podcast. Now, if you want the video, hey, it's not for me because I'm not much to look at, but if you want the video version, join the community. It's free access, and we'll talk about some other things at the end. Now, I've got such a cool opportunity today. I get to chat with Abi Johnson. We've gotten to interact with her whole family over the last 5 years, and it's been an absolutely wonderful process. Cindy and I've been able to develop some amazing relationships with the entire team at Waynesboro Landscape and Garden Center, then the Virginia Boxwood team, and then the All Seasons Irrigation Lighting team. And it's been so cool to see. So the background is about 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, I was connected with Craig and Kim Johnson, Abby's parents, to do a handbook and help them with some business acquisition paperwork, which made me want to stab my eyeballs out with an ice pick because that stuff is just not fun. But what a blessing it's been to be able to develop those relationships. Abby came in, I'm going to say probably a year and a half. She'll clean up whatever I'm saying after they acquired the business, had it up and running. Nathan, her older brother, he joined the team not long after Craig and Kim took ownership. Matter of fact, I think he was there on day one when the actual paperwork stuff started. And it's been a cool process. His wife, Kate, joined the team. So it's just been a true family business. And that happens to be one of their values. So before I go into that path about values, some of the different things, Abby, do the real introduction. Talk about who you are and give some real background that I butchered in the process.
Yeah, so thank you, Wes, for the lovely introduction. I'm Abby Johnson. I went to High Point University where I got my degree in biology with a concentration in health sciences, as well as obtained a minor in business administration. From there, I really wanted to work in the medical field. I was starting off as a medical tech and a physical therapy tech for an orthopedic center in Charlottesville, Virginia. And then I also took on some coaching, volleyball coaching. I have a real passion for playing volleyball. And with that, I did that at the JV and travel level. And so I started having second thoughts about what I really wanted to do. I felt that my values weren't aligning with the company that I was currently at the orthopedic center. And I had the opportunity to go to the family business. And so I did. I went in there with absolutely no plant knowledge, tree knowledge. I just had a little bit of a business background. I understood that the company was based on values that I had aligned with. And I knew that with the foundation of the values and the mission, that it was going to be a place where I could really thrive and help empower others.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to those values because that's going to be the bulk of what we talk through. But you've recently taken on some additional responsibility and you've continued to. It's been so neat with what you've done with Boxwood, the responsibilities I've seen you take on in the garden center, the visibility aspect of those values. When the wreath season was at hand last year, you decided, gosh, here's a process. We can actually manufacture wreaths. We can do some different things instead of sourcing them from a vendor. And it's been neat to see, but recently you took on some leadership responsibility. Talk about, and it's really tied back to my second book, Leading with Clear Purpose. What was that purpose for you for saying, hey, I'll take on leadership responsibility? Because while your parents initially owned the business, your brother and sister-in-law have an ownership stake in the business, it would have been easier to say, man, I'm just going to do stuff. I'm going to interact with customers. You're great at that. The customers love you. But leadership is a whole different level of responsibility that if it's just for the pay ain't often worth it.
Yeah. So, like you said, I started with the business about a year and a half ago. And since then, I have taken on some leadership responsibility. And I think my clear purpose for that is just to empower others. And empowering others is a part of our mission statement as well. So it felt very aligned that this was going to be the right step and direction. And with that being said, I have recently taken some supervisor role with our customer service associates at the garden center. And then with our sister company, the Virginia Boxwood Company, I've taken on a supervisor role with our boxwood pruning team. And so just helping making sure that everything's running smoothly and they're going to accounts to prune the boxwood. It's been a real blessing to be able to take on this role, and the team is just amazing.
I remember when you went through our emerging leader course, and this was, gosh, 2 years ago almost at this point. And I remember, I think you were 23 at the time. And I said, And it was unique because you were the oldest person in the room in that particular group, and that never happens. But I said, "You're still gonna be one of the youngest for a long time, and you're gonna have to lead people that are much older and have different experiences than you." And we talked through how it will never be fair because of the role in family business and being the youngest in the family. There's always gonna be an expectation and the little bit of scrutiny of, "Well, gosh, is she earning her way?" And the fact of the matter is, Cindy and I have watched you do that over and over and over. It's been so cool to see. And again, I'll go back to that purpose that you talked about. It's not just words that you want to empower people. We've watched you live it. We've watched how you've been so intentional about doing that. So I appreciate you saying that. On the business side, talk a little bit about with the foundations that you've talked about, who the business really looks to serve and what that niche market is that you guys do, because we can go and buy plants anywhere, Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart even, or whatever. But the reality is you guys provide a different level of service and you provide that service in a way that other people just don't.
Yeah, so part of our mission statement is to empower our teammates as well as to provide an exceptional customer experience. So I think the people who are really focused on serving include both our teammates as well as the Central Virginia community at large. I really think that having buy-in on the core values that we have established within the business with our teammates can really elaborate in helping them feel empowered to create that exceptional customer experience. They can create deals. They don't have to come over. It's not teammates versus managers or however other companies might work on, but it's really about just empowering our teammates to create that exceptional experience. I think customer service is a field that is not thriving right now. And so if we can just be a step ahead of other businesses, I think that we're just going to thrive. And that's what we strive to do.
Yes, ma'am. I remember getting something. It was a last minute thing. I was looking for Cindy Valentine's Day and it was on Valentine's Day. I'm like, oh crap, I've got to get something to take home to Cindy. And I almost died in the particular store. I won't name the store, but the person was pushing a pallet jack down the aisle and I'm 6 feet away inside that 6 foot COVID bubble, right? And they weren't making eye contact. They weren't moving. Jesus would have came back before they were, and I had to duck into an aisle. And I'm thinking, I'll knock you out. But it was the customer service was not there. They almost did me a service, but that service would have been taking me to the mortuary. So that's not what we experienced with you guys, and it's been wonderful from day one. And we saw that even with some of the legacy employees before you guys really built on that culture, but now it's just second to none. It's so cool. You've said something, this is a little bit off script. You've said something twice. You've talked about empowering teammates to be able to make deals, to do things, and you mean it. I hear the word empowerment tossed around a lot. Matter of fact, not long ago, I wrapped up a manuscript for a book that's going to be called The Growth Advantage. And a whole chapter is on empowerment. And it's not about the words we say, it's about the actions we use to back that word of empowerment. And you guys could be a case study for that. And we'll talk about how you were a case study for a different book shortly. The other piece is I'm currently working on the manuscript for a book called The Experience Advantage. And it's not just about it, certainly a customer experience, but one of the underlying ideas in that whole book, the thesis, if you will, is that if we take great care of the teammates, then everybody downstream feels that. And that's what we've watched you guys do. From the time I met your dad, I remember him saying teammate. And if I said employee, if I said anything other, no, that's not what we're talking about. These are teammates. Family is one of those core values, and it's been exemplary. Now, you've talked about core values a couple of times, and coming into the business, you knew explicitly what those values were because, well, mom and dad determined what those values were going to be. You didn't have to come into the business, but you chose to. Talk about the one core value for you that you work hardest to model daily. So everybody that you interact with can see it, can experience, whether that's the team, the customers, the community that you serve.
Yeah, so for me, that would be family. I think family is a really important core value for us just because we do have 3 different businesses that are widespread throughout the area. And I think it's really important that our teammates know that they are supported. And so I really try to make an effort to build a relationship with teammates in all 3 businesses so that way we can create the synergy as one big team. I really think it's important that everyone knows that what they're doing is important. And if they fall down, we pick them up. And I think that it's just I think all of our core values are really important. I think that one just stands out to me the most on a daily basis.
And just before we hit the go live button, the record or whatever it's called, we saw Kate with Edgar in the garden center. And Edgar is a crucial part of the Virginia Boxwood team. He and his father have done the pruning side of it and run that ship. And it's been such a cool experience. I don't know them well, but what I've heard your mom and dad talk about them is just how amazing they are. But you're right. We're not disjointed. We're not silos. It's a family. And quite frankly, Cindy and I feel that every time we're on site with you guys. And we're 45 miles away. We're there intermittently, but it still feels like family. So it's not just words that you're saying. Thank you for sharing. Now, talk about, for you, it's different, but talk about why you chose to be part of the family business, because you said, hey, the values weren't aligning over in the medical profession and you were unsure of where you want to go. And who knows where that ends up being long term. But what was it that you chose? Yep, this is exactly why I want to be part of the family business, because it's hard. Sometimes in a family business, we can get our feathers ruffled. Cindy and I work together and it's usually awesome, but some days it's stinking hard.
Yeah, and I think it really comes back down to the values and the clear purpose. I think that I knew growing up, my parents instilled all of the core values into me and my 2 older brothers, and our family has synergy. I knew that going into the family business, I would have the room to be able to empower others and to build leadership. I knew that it would also really help me build my leadership. It's a really cool opportunity where I can learn and master all different things all at once and grow and wait and grow. I think I'm just constantly growing and evolving at the family business. And I think I had a vision that that's what it was going to be like. And it has just been fantastic.
It's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch how much you, Nathan, and Kate have really embraced it and taken that on. There's been so many different family businesses, not all bad, but in many cases, I've seen the second or even the third generation, they have the clutch in. Well, I'll say it for folks younger that don't know what manual transmissions work like with clutch. They kind of skate. They drift. Hey, everything's always here. It's always going to be here. Somebody else worked hard for it and they don't understand it. This is off script too, but I'm going to ask it. Do you sometimes feel like that your mom and dad have a higher expectation for you, Nathan and Kate, than maybe they do everybody else in the building?
I say yes, but I also say that the expectations are high for everyone just because with the values, with the mission, there's really no ambiguity. I think that every single action, every single decision that we make is based on those values. And so the expectation's high for sure for everyone. I think that there might be some slight variance just in terms of most of Nate, Kate, and I, all 3 of us work in different businesses, which is really exciting, and we're not the only ones, but I think with that, there are some more responsibilities that come along the way, and a lot of times, the responsibilities within the other businesses fall during really busy times of other businesses, and so it can be it's a cool experience, although it can be really busy and the pressure can be high and the expectations are high. It's really an opportunity that I wouldn't be able to get anywhere else.
Yeah, it is. And I'll say from outside looking in, the seat that Cindy and I get to sit in, we feel like there is a tremendous expectation on the three of you. And it should, but I see you guys embrace that and you don't shy away from it. So it's something that we've come to respect about your mom and dad, but you, Nathan, and Kate as well, because it's just cool. We don't see it all the time and we don't take it for granted. So it's been a special interaction. It's been a great experience for us too. Now, talk about one of the recent things that you guys have done as a team that's really worked to serve the community, to provide experience, to be a blessing. And we're in business to make money. Even nonprofits have to make money to survive. So it's not about whether it was free of charge or whether there was cost involved, but talk about something that you did that was special that you guys were able to have a significant impact.
Yeah, so we have really taken action on native plants and being able to provide more to our community. And a really cool campaign that we are a part of the last 3 years is the Throwing Shade campaign, which is ran by the Department of Forestry. And the Department of Forestry chose, I think it's roughly 10 garden centers within Virginia, and we just so happen to be one of them. And what we can do is we can sell native plants to our customers for a discounted rate. And so say that the plant, it has to be of a certain price though. So we can sell any plant that's 49.99 or higher in price for $25 off to our customers. And we actually get reimbursed the $25 from the Department of Forestry. And it's a really cool win-win program. And we've actually tripled in size since the first year we did it 3 years ago. And so that's been really huge, as well as the American Beauty program we're also a part of, which is another campaign that we're able to sell more and more native plants to our community.
It's been so cool to watch that. I know very little about planting. Cindy loves her plants. Every time that we come to Waynesboro, she comes home with something. In so many cases, there's an employee discount in the mix, and that's not what we're coming for. It's we want to support our friends. But the reality is, I can dig holes. If she tells me how to carry the dirt over here and put it in this hole, I can do that too. But that's about the extent of my plant knowledge. But it's so neat to watch because your mom, your dad, Nathan, you had biology. That's your field of study, but it wasn't in plant biology, it was in human biology. So it's all of you have really learned and embraced it, but you've built great team members. And there were great team members. There are great legacy team members like Carla who stuck around. And it's just been so cool to see. You've got great people and you treat them like family. The compassion, the integrity, the dependability, and the integrity, all of those things are there and it's fun. Now, I just listed off all of your values. How have those values really driven you individually? Because I know what you do. Matter of fact, I know what your whole family does to make sure that you're not just saying, I'm in a leadership position or role. You're actively working to sharpen that saw. You're actively working to be the best leader you can be. Talk about how those values have driven you to do that.
So I think that, or sorry, I think that values are the foundation of how I can grow as well as other people grow. So I think that inspired me to be better than my past self, to keep growing and see what my future self can be. And like I said, I really think that they are the forefront of being able to build myself and build myself as a leader to be able to help grow others.
And you talked earlier about there's always a lot going on. I don't think there's been a time, and I had this conversation with your dad the other day. I don't think there's been a time in the 5 years that I've known you guys that it's been a slow season. I understand there's certain slower retail seasons, but the reality is, as long as your dad's in the picture, there's not going to be a slow season, right? It's let's go. So it always has to be intentional. There's never the right time. And I talk about that in the growth advantage as well. If we were waiting for the right time to do it, we would never do it. It's just how do we make time? And we've watched you guys do that. Now, more than any other organization I've ever personally worked with, and specifically because we themed the entire 2026 Leadership Legacy Experience around the idea that really served as the premise of the values advantage when I wrote that now a year and a half ago. You guys have modeled it. You guys, as an organization, were the case study for that book. Because again, from July of 2021, the first conversation I had with your mom and dad, I was on Zoom. I was sitting in this same chair, except for my camera broken. You couldn't get them in those days because everybody needed a stinking camera. They talked about the 5 values: integrity, humility, dependability, family, and compassion. In the garden center, we've since added the 6th value, visibility. But we talked about those things over the course of time. I wrote that book. I asked your dad to write the foreword, and it made me cry when I read the foreword. It's just such a blessing to have you guys in our lives. We've since worked to how can we help companies that don't have that same background that you came into, that your dad experienced in corporate America and really built a great organization there around. We've built a process that we're referring to currently as values optimization, that I'm right now, as you and I have this conversation, building out an implementation guide, the step-by-step 5 stages of values tools. What do you see organizations really standing to benefit from when they embrace those values? They define them, they make sure everybody understands them at every level, and not just understands what the words are, but understands how they live them out in their own roles, what it looks like in practice, and what that gets in return.
Yeah, so I think if you have values and you're always talking about them, I think you can't talk about the values enough. I think if you're always talking about them within a business and that you have a really clear vision for what you're trying to do, I think it just lessens the ambiguity. I think you can really build some buy-in with your teammates, and with that, you can just thrive. I think that everyone would be on the same level, they have the same purpose, and you're really striving as a team to make something happen, whatever that mission or whatever that clear purpose might be. And so I think always talking about the values, living them day by day. It doesn't matter who you are at our company, for example, it doesn't matter who you are. You can push a customer cart, you can assist someone at the register, you can help make deals, you can do it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what position it is. If you have the mindset that everyone is just one team, you can really thrive in a business.
And it's amazing to watch. So a statistic that I've read and heard for years is that on average, across all sectors, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that there annually you can expect about 23.4, I think is the real number. So let's say 25% annual turnover across all levels of a business, across all sectors. In the first 2 years that we interacted with the Waynesboro Landscape and Garden Center team, I tracked about 5% turnover total, and that was with planned retirements. And Abby, you and I have had conversations around, especially in a few of the roles, turnover's higher. Inevitably, it's going to be. But even then, even in your highest turnover roles, it's well below average. And the other statistic that Cindy and I learned, we spoke for a group in Texas a couple months ago, and our theme was around mergers and acquisitions. And I had to dig into stats there. The first 12 months after a merger and acquisition, you can statistically expect between 33 and 47% turnover after that acquisition or merger. And you guys over 24 months had 5%. That included planned retirements. It was absolutely amazing. And the case that I make for that is not only were those 5 values in place, they were modeled. We watch it's when you say visibility, you, Nathan, Kate, your mom and dad are as engaged in that visibility as everybody else. You mentioned the pushing the carts, the carrying stuff. Not long ago, I was there and it was a really hot day and you ran out to whatever store it was and got a whole bunch of bottled water and were making sure that folks that were taking care of the yard had bottled water. You were taking care of the team. It was, how do we take care of people? It's a family. What a cool example that is. Now, one more formal question for you. And then I've got one that's a little bit spontaneous, but I'll tell you what it is as I kind of wrap up, talk about the show notes, some of the links to learn about Waynesboro. So it won't be like off the cuff, boom, you got to answer it. What advice would you give to somebody that's starting their career and they're looking to really engage and earn leadership responsibility? Now, I'm really intentional about saying it that way because I never want to attach leadership responsibility to a title or position because they're two different things. Both are important, but they're different.
Yeah, the advice I would give is to if you have a growth mindset and you go into work with energy and a positive attitude and you lift people up, you will go far. If you are a lifter and not a leaner, you're gonna go really far, and if you have the energy to do so, there's no roof. Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and I just wanna give you a lot of credit too with our previous question just about you talked a lot about the turnover, and something that I had learned through you guys is through recruitment and retention, and how that has really helped with lessening the turnover within our company as well. You guys have been huge with that, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. We believe it from the bottom of our hearts, and we love working with folks that have that compassion, have the values in place. They don't have to be the same words, but from the very first conversation with your mom and dad, we felt that alignment that you talked about earlier. So it's can't say enough how much we appreciate the interaction that we get to have. Now, my last question, I'm going to give you a little bit to think about, is what have I not asked you that I should, that you really want to make sure that we include? There's so many great things that you guys do as an organization. What's that one thing that I should be asking you that I've not? Now, while you think about that, I'll say in the show notes. So wherever you're accessing this, if you're on one of the podcast platforms, you've just got audio. If you're on YouTube, if you're in our community, it's wherever you're doing this, even over in the digital game plan from the 2026 Leadership Legacy. I've got links to the Waynesboro Landscape and Garden Center website, to the Virginia Boxwood website. They do some amazing stuff. It's really cool. If you've got boxwoods 30 or more on your property, you need to talk to Abby about that program, that they do some pretty cool stuff that can really serve you because it's part of their business model. The all seasons irrigation and lighting team, it's been so cool to understand and learn that team and watch them grow and thrive. The Facebook link is in there. The LinkedIn page is in there. They don't use that as actively, but I'm going to keep poking at them because I think there's value in it. But the reality is they've got a great presence. Please make sure you're connecting with this team because it's not just about the product and service. It's really about the way they engage the entire community they serve. Now, Abby, back to you on that question. What should I have asked you that I did not?
I think a really good question, and something I've been thinking about a lot is how do your values, whether they're personal or with the business, how do they help you motivate your team? How do they help you motivate others? I think that that is huge within our company at least.
Talk about how that works for you. How do your values help you motivate your team?
So I think that I have buy-in. I'm very passionate about the values. I think about compassion and and I think about dependability and being there for my teammates. And I think that you can really use those two in specific to help motivate others, letting them know that you are there for them. We talked about family and humility, let them know that we can help figure this out together, and just making them feel important, I think will really help them be motivated.
It's so cool to watch. And again, I've said it a couple times through this process. None of what you're saying are just words. We get to watch your entire family live that out for the team. And the folks that we've gotten to know really well on the team have that buy-in, not to the business per se. It obviously is to the business, but I'm going to make the case that it's to the people that they're bought into. It's to you, it's to Nate, it's to Kate, it's your mom and your dad and the rest of the leadership team there because it's been an investment process into people. So very well stated with that. Anything else that you want to throw in before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank you and Cindy, and Dove Development and Consulting for helping us get to where we are. You guys have really helped us create the foundation for our company, and we wouldn't be as successful without you.
It's freaking wonderful partnership. Somebody said a while back that, gosh, it seems like you guys have really good friendships in the organizations that you work closely with. And at this stage in my life, Abby, I'm 50 and we've got grandkids and all these different things. And we put in a lot of time. But if we had to work with folks that we couldn't have friendships with as well, I don't know that I want to do it. And I'm going to give the credit back to you guys because it's the values alignment that we knew values mattered, but we watched it in a way that we had never seen in the last 5 years interacting with you. So thank you for that. Now, as we bring this to a close, I'll say wherever you're accessing this, if you need continuing education credit, especially in the human resource community, reach out to us directly at admin@dove-development.net, and we can hook you up with some kind of trial access or a discount code or whatever to our full Leading at the Next Level program. As we share this, there's north of 200 individual lessons there, all approved for credit with the Society of Human Resource Management, Human Resource Certification Institute, and a few other entities, but those are the two that we work with closely. There's a couple different tiers. If you just need the leadership resources, one of the things that I'm working with Abby on currently is how do we build customized programs from those resources for individual team members? We're able to do some of that too. So hit us up. Happy to help you with that. But thanks for being a part of this. Abby, you're a rock star. We appreciate the interaction with you and your entire team. Look forward to seeing everybody soon. Make it a great day and God bless.